Hi, my name is Tom Johnson. I'm a technical writer based in Seattle, and I've got a series of prompt engineering techniques that I cover on my blog, I'dratherBeWriting.com. If you want to find them all, go to I'dratherBeWriting.com, click TW for TechWriter plus AI, and choose Prompt Engineering for TechWriter Scenarios, and you'll see them here in the left sidebar. Today, I am going to be talking about creating high-fidelity, thematically organized notes from engineering meetings using AI. Now, before jumping into this, let me provide a little bit of the rationale here. Usually, people who don't want to use AI say, well, I'm writing about something that wouldn't be in an AI's training database. I'm documenting new features. They're not found anywhere on the web. There's really no information about them. I'm creating this material from scratch, so AI would just hallucinate all over the place and be kind of worthless. Well, fortunately, that's not really the case. Basically, the approach that I use when I'm documenting something totally new is I meet with engineers. I basically ask them all kinds of questions about the product, and we have a big long meeting, and I kind of soak in a lot of information that I need, and then I use that information to write the documentation. So this is why this topic is essential, right? If you take the transcript and feed it into an AI, that transcript and that information then can be used for writing the documentation. Now, there's another reason why this is significant. This topic in particular is one that taught me a certain technique, and that's going section by section instead of trying to tackle something all at once. And this technique would be applicable to any kind of documentation scenario, not just getting better meeting notes. Right? So anyway, this is kind of like one of the foundation principles or foundation techniques is you've got to gather the information. You've got to pull it out of engineers' heads. And this becomes the source for your other prompts. So the first step, I have about 4 steps here. First step is you're going to transcribe the meeting with whatever tools you have available. You know, even though I put transcribe the meeting with AI, really AI doesn't have to come into the picture here at all. If you've got Google Meet, record it, click the transcribe button. That's what I do. Other meeting platforms have other ways to transcribe meetings. And once you get that transcript, it's going to be long, mostly unreadable, as most transcripts are. And so you want to clean it up a bit, right? You want to get a readable summary. So now here's where AI comes into play. You're going to paste the you're going to paste the transcript into an AI tool and then provide a prompt to get a basic outline of all the themes discussed in the meetings or in the meeting. You can say, for example, in your prompt, you're an AI assistant tasked with creating a detailed and actionable summary from the providing meeting transcription indicated with transcript. First, analyze the entire transcript to identify major themes or topics discussed. Generate a list of themes and list them. So notice how I didn't just pass in a huge transcript and say, clean this up, make this readable, make it really well organized. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Why break this prompt into multiple prompts? First of all, most AI tools have a limit on how many words they can output. That might be 500 to 1,000, maybe 2,000 words or so. And yet your meeting transcript is probably much, much longer. Your meeting transcript is probably 5 times that. So your output, if you try to do it all at once, is going to be really summarized and condensed and won't have the rich detail that you need. So first, get a list of the themes from the transcript. The AI tool will respond and say, okay, I identified these 7 major themes, yada, yada, yada for each one. Now you hit the second part of this prompt. You say for theme 1, and you could list out what theme 1 was. Provide detailed notes from the transcript. Include direct quotes and expand on any acronyms. Focus on capturing all the relevant details discussed during the meeting related to this theme. Formatted for easy readability with bullet points, numbered lists, and clear hierarchies of information. Avoid truncation or summary, but instead strive for as much detail as possible, articulated in grammatically correct English. By the way, I had AI kind of help with fleshing out some of these prompts, which is totally a valid technique you can do. I don't know if the quotes is really that helpful, but it does make it a little more fun, because usually when the AI tool goes and tries to pull a quote, it's so incoherent because the transcript itself is just like, I mean, it's verbal, literal speech. It's not usually that quotable. So you do that for the first theme, and then after you get a response, you say, now do this for theme 2. And after you get another response, say, now do this for theme 3. You can even follow it up at the end by saying, hey, now create a list of action items, decisions, so on. I don't know how relevant the action items is. If you're just trying to gather source material for your inputs for later prompts, it's probably not that important. But notice how we've got two main kind of ideas with this technique. First is you're taking and gathering information that you will later use to pass in as context for more documentation specific prompts. This is where you're kind of pulling information out of engineers and product managers and others, and you're just gathering it. Because if you don't have this information, yeah, you're right. The AI tools will hallucinate wildly, right? Or they'll just make up predictable things that sound right but aren't. So you need this core bit of info. But the other technique is to chunk things up section by section. Don't go all at once. And this same technique applies when you're writing documentation with AI tools. You don't go in and say, hey, write this whole topic all at once. You might say, hey, what are the major themes or topics to cover in this feature? Or what are the major sections? And then go section by section. That tends to just work so much better. These tools are always evolving, so maybe as they get more powerful, you might not need to do this, but I find it helpful. All right, now I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to hear a message from our sponsors. This is from Zoom In, and it's an excerpt from a podcast I did with Karen Brown, talking about uncovering and communicating the value of TechCom. We'll be right back after this short little clip break. Let's just jump into the big question. Like, how do you establish yourself as a highly valuable resource, especially in comparison to engineers and other roles, as a tech writer in your company?
The main thing is to first of all identify what are the business goals of your companies, and see how you can actually start evaluating documentation as it relates to that. For example, if your company is looking to increase its NPS or reduce its support costs, for example, or generate new leads, and things like that, these are things that we know today through a methodology that we've developed and implemented. We know today how to tie the impact of documentation and technical writers into those core KPIs and core goals, and literally take the data that technical writers use every day, like the traffic they have on their documentation portals, or the returning users that they're seeing coming back to consume technical content, and even cases that were either avoidable or deflected because users were able to read your content self-serve and not contact your call center. We know how to tap on that kind of data to build a full, what we call a full value realization case for the writers. And this is not even going, I'm not even going yet to how critical technical writers are today with the introduction of AI in technical content. But we can talk about it later. But that's, I think, positioning technical writers in a whole new strategic way to their companies, because every company in the world right now is looking into AI and GPT, and it all starts with knowledge, and it all starts with the content that you have. And so we're seeing a completely new balance of power between writers and developers, for example. But that's, I think, a different discussion, maybe.
All right, and I'm back. So a couple last little steps here. First, once you get this meeting transcript that's all cleaned up, it is often, quote, scarily good in accuracy. That's what one engineer told me after I sent him a transcript of our meeting that we had just had like 20 minutes ago. You want to fix some basic errors. First of all, if you have participants joining from meeting rooms, the names won't be right. They'll probably be the names of the meeting rooms instead of the participants. So you could do a find all and change that. Things are going to be spelled phonetically rather than accurately a lot of times. If somebody mentions a link to a document, that obviously doesn't usually make it into the transcript. And the action items, again, can be a little bit too robust and need to be pared back. A lot of this might be fixed through some adjustments to the prompt. But in general, I don't spend too much time editing the prompt or editing the transcript. I just put AI written after the transcript title. That provides a bit of a disclaimer and so on. And then you're going to share the meeting notes. This is the final step. Share it with all the people who are in the meeting. I find that people are really fascinated by this. Usually they're fascinated to see how AI sort of interpreted and captured the meeting and how accurate it can be. But also, if everybody did this for the meetings they attended, it would dramatically reduce the amount of time and bandwidth people spend in meetings, because those who weren't in the meeting could get these detailed notes and not miss out on the meeting. I mean, I don't have too many meetings, but when I do have a big hour-long meeting and there wasn't a whole lot that I walked away with, I always think, man, if only they did this, they could have saved me 50 minutes of just sitting there waiting for some piece of relevant information. So this is almost a side technique here, not so much related to prompt engineering, but let's say that you met with a couple of engineers to talk about a feature and you share the meeting notes. Well, if you want to expand your visibility as a technical writer and kind of like amplify your role here, go ahead and send the meeting notes to their whole team as appropriate. Expand the number of other stakeholders who might be interested but who couldn't make the meeting. And this is a way of expanding your influence inside the corporation. It works pretty well. And people are usually really, really grateful to get such detailed meeting notes. Now, there was a little bit of an experiment I tried. I just want to note it here. I'm not really sure why it failed, but initially I thought, this is silly breaking up this prompt into multiple steps or stages. What if I could just kind of do the equivalent of a for loop and say, after describing a theme, pause and say, continue on to the next theme, and wait for my input. And if I say yes, continue. If not, wait for further instruction. I thought this would achieve the same output, but it didn't. It kind of had the same result as if I had done the whole transcript in one go. So there must be something to having a multi-step prompt like this that results in a much better output. All right, so that is pretty much it. Creating high-fidelity, thematically organized notes from engineering meetings using AI. Again, usually what I do for each project when I'm documenting some new feature, I start gathering lots of information. You'll get it from project engineering documents and product overview documents. But There will be many gaps, and this is why you need to meet with engineers and PMs and so on, and just kind of gather as much information as you can, and then have AI clean it up into something readable. And now you've got a high value information asset that you can pass into a prompt, and you can get much better outputs and results using it. Again, my name is Tom Johnson. My blog is I'dRatherBeWriting.com, and this is a series on prompt engineering techniques for documentation. Thanks.